good morning, rise and shine. Good morning to you. I'm Wesh 2 First Warning Meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, hopefully getting your day started off on the right note. It is beautiful outside. What can I say? What can I say? A live look at our Tower Cam network, taking us over, seeing what's doing here in the beautiful, beautiful area. Look at that. How we doing? It's beautiful outside. That's Sanford. We're looking good. It's going to be a good day. I think it's going to be a great day, as a matter of fact. If you've got plans to get out there, do the things today, all I can ask is that you find a way to do it. Yeah. All right. First warning, live Doppler radar. Not as beautiful. We've actually got some storms to track, particularly over on the Gulf Coast. Let's start off with the showers that we're already finding in our area, and you can see some of that rainfall here or there. Yeah, it's not a huge deal, but there's some showers up around Salt Springs. I'll put a loop on this, just kind of give you an idea. Flagler County, Ormond Beach, even over to New Smyrna Beach, there's a couple of little showers there. May have to deal with that for you. Again, not a big deal. Something we're definitely watching, though. If you've got plans to get out this morning, I would simply say just prepare for it, right? Over to Lake County, watching these showers kind of cropping on up. Claremont, Bay Lake, Mascot up 27 there. Yeah, we've got that rainfall to deal with for sure. Okay, so when we track this, it's one of those situations where you just need to plan to have the windshield wipers on. But look over here around Zephyr Hills. That's some heavier rainfall to deal with, right? Yeah. It's not strong. It's not severe. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if it's putting out any lightning. Let's just check that. Yeah, no lightning. So it's just a band of heavy rainfall. Our live radar tracking some pockets of gustier winds in there, nothing too significant. But again, there's some wind. So, okay, a breezy downpour. But let's switch over and look at the Tampa radar. Okay, look at that. Stormy stuff eventually working in toward Pinellas, Hillsborough counties. Yeah, there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere, which means we're again going to get a healthy dose of showers and storms. So watch on Futurecast how we start with the rains out west, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, widespread rains today, continuing through 2, 3 o'clock, and then into the late afternoon, it kind of clears on out. At least that's the way we're kind of looking at it now. So temperatures out the door are in the 70s. Not a bad start to the day. But here's our 12-hour forecast revealing essentially a good dose of storms, hit or miss, through the day today, right? We're going to be okay. We're just going to have plenty of storms to deal with. And it's not just a late afternoon thing. We're actually going to get into some earlier stuff as well. So, for what it's worth, may have some stormy weather. Okay? It's okay. You're going to be fine. We're going to be fine, right? Good times. All right. Questions about this so far? Questions, comments, concerns from the peanut gallery. Diane says, loved all the rain yesterday. Finally got some. Yep, indeed. Nautilus minus the. Is it cold by you? I didn't think it was. Right? I don't. I don't see any cold around here. I don't see any cold up north either. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe. Orange County. Yes. What about Orange County? It's going to storm. It's going to storm across the vast majority of town. When we look at the overall coverage of storms for today, rainfall. Here's here. Why does that say euro? Hold on. Did I click the wrong thing? Stand by. Here we are. It's stand by. I have to pull the other one up. Rainfall. There we are. Okay. So that's kind of the rainfall idea for today. The overall coverage may be a little bit lower, but some pockets are going to get 1, 2, 3 inches of rain, right? But this is only a piece of the weather puzzle, right? Because today we've already got the rains. We're going to get into some afternoon showers and thunder showers. But let's look ahead, okay, and see, because this is where things get more interesting. So for today, 50% of us getting storms, but it's not just the afternoon. We're going to have kind of some morning, midday, and afternoon stuff. But that's not the bigger idea. When we look at the broader picture here, that's where we start to see things changing, okay? Because notice Wednesday, Thursday, storm chances really start to increase. Why? What's going on? Well, essentially, we've got this area of low pressure that's going to want to try and develop over us. Matter of fact, here's Saturday, the area of low pressure developing along an old front and pulling away. But if we go back a little bit earlier, let's look at how the week plays out, because this is going to tell the story for us, okay? Watch. Cold front north of us. Watch that cold front slowly Tuesday into Wednesday get closer to us. And as it does so, it starts to die, right? But as that front is getting closer to us, it's squeezing that moisture and squeezing that moisture Wednesday, Thursday. And as it squeezes that moisture, the rain coverage increases. So again, Wednesday, Thursday, that cloudy, wet kind of, I'm going to say it, dank. Ooh, he said dank. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, dank. That dank air. So I just like that word. I think it's so ridiculous. Deanna's asking about the 4th, saying that you're concerned it's going to be a washout. I mean, there's going to be storms, absolutely, in the 4th of July forecast. Even in the morning, I think we'll be watching the radar because this piece of energy is going to be around. Brett's asking, is the 4th of July going to be terrible? It's not going to be terrible, but do we think that we're going to be tracking rain? Yeah. What is today? Monday. It's a little early to do much. All right, let's do GFS. Hold on. So this is the GFS. I'm going to delete these camera views. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the GFS on Florida, all right? And today, all right. So here's the GFS. So let's just roll through to Wednesday, Thursday, and instead of the date, I'll change that to the time. 12-hour. Okay. Display PM, where are you? Okay. Making the sausage here. All right, so there's that front north of us on Thursday. Okay, so that's the 3rd of July. When is Red Hot and Boom again? All right, so we've got all that moisture around for Thursday. Notice Friday, there's that area of low pressure. According to the GFS, there's that area of low pressure. You could see it out in the Gulf developing. So even at 10 a.m., according to the GFS, we're already starting to moisten up. That said, it's really going with late afternoon into evening shower and storm activity. Again, this is the GFS, but there's that area of low pressure out there in the Gulf. The GFS, at least looking at this, the GFS is wanting this to develop into a low. All right, so there's that. Let's switch. Look at the euro. If I can find the darn thing. All right. Ba 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 ba. All right, here's the euro. I'm going to switch to that same Florida view. All right. Tuesday, Wednesday. Hold on. Why are you not going out as far? Custom today. Custom. All right. So there's July 4th. Now, here's what's interesting. If you look, and we'll look at this more in depth in a minute, but if you look at the way that this is set up, if you noticed, the GFS had the spin in the Gulf. This is the Euro. Notice it has the spin on the Atlantic side. There's a big difference there, right? Um, Subsidence versus not, Either way, though, this is July 4th, 10 a.m., showers around, European showing probably more storms than the GFS. And then everything works off to the west. So both models are going decently wet for us. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. We're watching this front, and the question is, as the front arrives, where exactly, when it dies, does it try to spark up an area of low pressure? Right? I'm guessing this is the GFS. And I only say that because there's your area of low pressure, right? You can see that spin around. Both models are trying to develop something. The question is exactly where and all of that fun stuff. So to that point, I suppose it's a good enough idea to talk about how on the 4th of July, you're going to be dealing with showers and storms. Not just in the evening, not just in the afternoon, but it's probably going to be kind of on again, off again rains type thing. Why? Because of the tropics. Okay. Right now, upper level low, kind of out over the Bahamas, nothing crazy going on, but the Hurricane Center updating and essentially continuing with this idea that over the peninsula, from the Gulf to the Atlantic coast, there's going to be an area of low pressure trying to develop. Now, the National Hurricane Center is giving it a low end 20% chance of formation over the next 7 days' time. Now, if you're new to Coffee Talk, and I see that we've got closing in on 1,000 people, y'all are not normally here when the weather's quiet. So first off, welcome. Glad that you're here. Couple things. We are not hypers here. We talk about the data, we look at it all together, and we have a discussion. So don't confuse me showing you raw data with hype. All right, I just want to be very clear on that. All right, so let's start looking at some raw data together. This is the raw American GFS model. The orange that you see is high pressure. Lower pressures in the greens and the blues and the purples. So this is Wednesday. There's that front diving down into the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. Right here, there's Thursday. That old front kind of draped into the Gulf and watched. So this is the GFS. No surprise. There's your low. As soon as it makes that moisture deposit, right there, the GFS is like, nope, we're going to do something. Okay? And the GFS is trying to develop, what is that, a 1012 millibar low? Stand by. Let's see how low it gets. 1,008. Let's switch over to a Gulf view. Okay, so that's a 1010, 1011, 1,009, 1,007, 1010, 1010, 1,009. All right, so what the GFS does is it kind of develops that low and then brings it over toward like Louisiana and then brings it in. Now, the overall pattern that we found when doing our long range forecast this year was that I felt from about the Florida from about Apalachicola over to Louisiana, I felt that was going to be the absolute bullseyest of bullseyes. So to see this kind of wanting to go that direction, does that surprise me? No, it doesn't. But that's what the GFS is trying to do with this, okay? Developing it as watch how the front right here, that's 2 a.m., that's 8 a.m. on Thursday, makes its moisture deposit, budding. And as soon as it does, there's that opportunity for a low pressure center to try and close off, try to form. That's 8 o'clock Friday, July 4th morning, right? And then it just meanders and works. Now, that's the GFS's version. All right, let's go out to the rest and just look at the rest of the run while we're here. Wow, that Bermuda high and that Saharan dust is powerful. All right, let's look over at the European. And we'll go back to the Gulf view. So there's the front, right on time, Wednesday-ish. Broad, sloppy low, nothing organized through Thursday night. broad, sloppy low, really over Florida. The European looks wet and gross. And then maybe it's trying to develop something off of the East Coast there. But you see the difference, right? European wants to develop something east of Florida. The GFS wants to develop something west of Florida. And then if we run into further data off of the Euro, yeah. Now, it's important to take a couple of takeaways. First thing, neither model does much development. They both are trying, these homegrown lows like Andrea and Bear. Was it Barry? I don't even remember. It was a system for like a day. Both models are trying to do something like that. Okay. Homegrown, nothing significant. Let's look at the European AI. It's kind of like, it could be off the East Coast, could be off the West Coast. All right. So even the AI model, we'll look at the Canadian. Kind of has a little piece of energy right there, developing and rolling. And then just a sloppy low sitting off the coast of Florida, just soaking us. So that must be the hype model that I was seeing putting like a foot of rain into Southwest Florida. It must have been the Canadian. Nautilus says this is typical for this time of year. Yeah. Yeah, these little homegrown lows, absolutely. Interesting, though, that the Canadian brings it back over toward Louisiana. Okay. All right. Ensembles. Ensembles are not going to do a ton for us because it's not like there's anything significant trying to develop here. Nothing deep. But, ensembles are starting to try to come alive around the Gulf Coast. Nothing significant, but there's some hintclination. Is that a word? European ensemble. Yeah. One run's got something around the Big Bend 1005. That's fun. But you see the ensembles trying to develop something into the weekend, right? So ensembles are starting to pop up. Let's look at the AI ensembles. Yeah, I mean the ensembles are waking up to something along that front, right? Yeah. All right. So for now, the ensembles are trying to eyeball something. Nothing significant. It's very important. Let's just talk about the reality here, okay? I feel like when I get into hurricane season mode, I have to yes, the models, the ensembles are trying to hint that we may see something try to form in this area here. Okay, what do I do with this information? Nothing. Looks like it's going to be rainy. So why are you talking about it? Because I do the weather. Any other questions? Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's something to track. It's a good reminder, though, that hurricane season is here. I feel like this time of year, I always say it. We've gotten through two names, Andrea and Barry. Nobody added the of course, nobody added the Barry. Why would we? Hold on. Not a category 5. Let's do the tropical storm. We'll hit save. There you go. So we've gone through two storms this year. That's all. 2 weak storms. That's fine. Hintclination is absolutely word. I like that, right, Terry? It just kind of rolls off the tongue. Taylor, I always have questions. You're gonna read the comments. Okay, now I'm done just talking. Okay, now we can have a conversation. Oh, one more thing I was gonna point out. In looking at our pattern, we just have to be aware Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, really? I don't know. Anyway, there's rain. I don't know why Thursday would not have any kind of a flooding threat. I would just say that with the rains in the next couple of days, let's watch for flooding. That's all I'm going to say. All right. All right. Now I'm going to read the comments. Now we can talk. Hi, good morning, guys. Sorry. I was on a roll. Okay. Geesh. Jamie, is that your flying shirt? I mean, it's one of them. I don't think I'm going to go flying today, but yes. The Scourge of Society podcast because I do the weather. Print that on a shirt. Yeah, I know, right? Can you imagine a first date with me? Like, so what do you want to talk about? It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Is that is that all we're going to talk about? Is the weather? Sorry. Oh well. I don't think little storms like that should even get a name. Well, Warren, there's criteria. I'm not saying it's going to get a name. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But remember, systems have criteria to be named, and if it meets the criteria, the Hurricane Center tags it. That's all. You know, for you and I, all we mean is look at the rain over the next few days' time. All right, this is the American GFS and the European model, and you can see the difference. The American GFS. Good morning. Yeah. Then, well, she didn't lie. I'll take care of you though. Okay. I've got another couple minutes of coffee talk, and then I'll take care of it. Okay. I'll take care of it. Slow down with that. 7 more minutes, and then I'll be with you. Okay. I love you both. They they want a penny. Thank you. They want their money. Okay. So you can see the difference. So the European is saying over the course of this week, this is through Monday of next week, the European says 2 to 3 inches of rain for Central Florida, whereas the GFS is saying widespread 3 to 5. I would probably say I would go more with the GFS's widespread 3 to 5. Just pattern recognition. I know how this is going to work. That's all. Right? So that's I think there's going to be plenty of areas that are going to get 3 to 5 inches of rain. All right. I'd be down to talk about the weather all night. There you go. The ghosted woman. Tanya, Friday, Saturday, Sunday weather report for Denellen. I need to know. I've been talking about Friday, Saturday. It's going to rain. There's going to be plenty of rain. There's going to be rain. There's going to be rain. The problem here is that when you guys are asking for your individual forecasts a week out, especially with there being a potential weak, sloppy tropical system over us, the confidence in this forecast is struggling because we've got a lot of rain in the forecast. It's just a matter of where does that low form? If it forms east versus west, that's a difference. That's a differentiation, right? So we have to figure that out. We'll figure it out. And we're going to do it together on Coffee Talk here. And I'll also remind you, by the way, that tomorrow on Tuesday, Jeremy Nelson and I host Tracking the Tropics Tuesday, where we get together at 10 a.m. and just dive into the tropics. Coffee Talk is local and tropics, but Tracking the Tropics Tuesday is more. So anyway, I have my ads out. That's why I asked. No, I get it, Tanya. I can only give you what I can give you, right? Either way, rain is rain. We can handle rain, right? What you don't want is severe weather. What you don't want is a hurricane. We don't really have all that. Is it payday, Daddy? No, that was last week. Patrick, would you cancel vacation if it was from Thursday to Sunday? I have Thursday, Friday off, and I have no plans to do. It is what it is. Do the things. That's all. John says, I just want to know what subdivision the storm is going to affect. I know that, listen, I know that it's coming from a good place, but I want to be very respectful to you all as well and just say, like, I can tell you what I can tell you, and I can tell you what I can't tell you, right? Asking about if there's going to be a flooding threat, truth be told, this is Friday, for example. That sounds great. I, I like that it's not expensive. It's very fun. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, flooding is a potential. And I'm not talking about like widespread terrible, catastrophic. At the moment, it just looks like some very heavy rainfall. Really? Okay, I'll go look at it. Ah, where were we? A hurricane. I don't need a lot of rain because our backyard in Florida Shores, Edgewater will keep well, yeah. Yeah. Good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning. Glad to see you joining us. You can tell that we're into hurricane season. Like, the audience of Coffee Talk loves hanging around 500 people. You can always tell when there's weather. We're at about 1,000 right now, and you can tell when there's a hurricane threatening us because we go into the tens, 20s, 30,000s. Glad that people are checking in as we've got a stormier pattern. Glad people are checking in. But glad that people aren't freaking out either. At the end of the day, area of low pressure is going to be developing this weekend. It's going to be pulling around moisture. That's basically the only way to look at it. That's all. And it's all driven by this weak front north of us that's going to be trying to sneak in mid to late week. Now, does that front slap our temperature down? Absolutely not. But does it help to bring some rainfall in? Sure, that it does. Right? So, just watching this pattern. Two times. 50 times. Thank you. Oh, good. Okay. I love that kid. Oh my God. When should we get our next update for the tropical storm? Well, Mindy, listen. First off, there's no tropical storm. This is an area of interest. Does it cost money? Oh boy. Yeah. So this is just an area of interest. What was Tropical Storm Barry has moved ashore. It's no longer. So this is all we're watching for right now. Is this area of interest for us late this week into the weekend. All right. So yeah, no, that's the tropics as they are right now. Okay. Tiffany says we can tell the folks that aren't normally here. They're the ones asking about their specific. Yeah, well, they listen. None of these are ill will. None of these questions come with ill will. Kimberly is asking, does it cost money? I do that. Like you know. Tim, I'll be there in a minute with him. Absolutely. Mindy, oh, no, you're fine. No, 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 you're fine. You're fine. The only reason that I even say that is it's like people get so scared with the tropics, and my whole thing when it comes to doing broadcasts like this or even being on the air is like I want to be the voice of calm. I want to be the one that's going to sit here and tell you like you're okay, even when the blah is hitting the blah. I want to be the one that's going to tell you you're going to be okay. So to that point, like we're going to be okay. Essentially, we're just looking at rising rain chances. You know, that's all. That's all this is really trying to give us. And over the next week, just looking at the European and the GFS, the models don't agree. So when you look at computer models, consistency breeds confidence, right? So that's number one. Number two, computer models are guidance, not gospel. So what does it mean then? What it means is that we're going to raise the rain chances. Okay. It also means, unfortunately, that for our 4th of July, that weekend is going to include plenty of showers and thunder showers. It also means that we aren't dialed in just yet on how this is going to impact you. When it comes to the actual 4th of July, there's going to be some rain around. But I would add that that's kind of where we're at right now. Look at our first warning live Doppler radar, right? There's pockets of heavier stuff already showing up on the map. Look here around Denellen. Look at how it just kind of popped up, right? Also, I love our radar. My God, I love our radar. Like, I know that I say this to y'all. I love it. Let me tap into the Tampa radar. That's a net. Frank, you in here this morning? There's some gusty winds over there. 35, 40 miles an hour. That's some nasty storms pushing in. It's weakening. This is not our radar. This is a Tampa radar. You always use the tool that's closest to, but like Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs, Holiday, it's going to be nasty. Actually, Kellyanne's on the air, so I can't dial it up. That's Ocala. I was going to dial up the St. Pete Tower cam, but she's on the air and I don't want to mess with her. But yeah, radar love. I'm going with that radar love. Radar love. You know, the funny thing is our radar is built in 96. First live radar in Central Florida, and it's original. We've just upgraded all the guts. You ever see that SNL? It's got so many guts. We've upgraded all of the guts of that thing. Yeah, but like, it's not even just the tool. It's learning how to use all of the equipment, right? Yeah, so a few showers here coming through Claremont, Groveland, but again, you know, radar coverage shows the rain, and it's going to just be with us next couple of days. So for 4th of July, yeah, rain may impact your plans. Believe you left. Already gave you some. Well, it's going to rain. He's got to have left. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Anything. It's going to rain. It's going to be cloudy. It's going to be grumpy. You know? Radar got a Restomod, like dropping a Hellcat motor in a Prius. Right. It's not that our radar was a Prius at all. Our radar, when we buy, the transmission power is the same as what you're going to buy today. You know, all of those things. It's just the signal processing. The signal processing in 1996 was, I mean, I always show this, and I'm going to show it again. Look at the, all right, so you asked. So don't get mad at me when I go nerdy here, all right? So this is our raw data, all right? And yes, it's noisy. I do that on purpose. In a couple minutes, like 5. Is that okay? I love you. All right, so this is our raw radar data. I've got it noisy on purpose just to be able to pick up every little blip. But let's come over here and let's look at, so these are what's called gates, pixels, if you will. Look at the size of our pixels versus, let's look at the size of the National Weather Service's radar's pixels. You see the difference? That's us in the yellows and the reds. That's the Weather Service on the left. I'm not knocking their radar at all. I'm just simply saying, like, our radar has incredible resolution. You're not going to find data that high resolution from anywhere. That's what we've upgraded. That signal processor is second to none. It is the highest resolution radar on the market. I don't care what anybody says. You know, their promotions departments, they'll sit there, look at that. Look at the size of those gates versus, let's pull up the Tampa radar because it's closer. Here's the Tampa radar. Tampa radar, us. And even at distance, you know, I don't care what anybody tells you. Their radar, manufacturer-wise, my radars by the Enterprise Electronics Corporation, you're not going to find a high-resolution signal processor, period. Yeah. So anyway, that's your nerd fact of the day. And that's not me dogging any other company or any other TV station or any other whatever. I'm just telling you, I love my radar. I'll die on that hill. Would I like dual polarization? Sure, but it is what it is. Yeah. 50K UHD Ultra Mac radar. Yeah. Yep. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? So you're saying size to no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Jay, it's how you use it. Also, I think our dish is probably the biggest in town just because of the way that they built it back then, but I digress. I digress. Went to Tampa a few weeks ago. Was using Wesh's radar for storms in Tampa because, well, thank you. I appreciate that, Lauren. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. I guess I need to go see what my surprise is. Listen, be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you all for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I'll see you guys and gals tomorrow morning for Coffee Talk at 8, Tracking the Tropics at 10. Sound good? All right, take care. I mean, you kind of said both matter. Don't backpedal. Okay, fine. Fine.